Hello and welcome to FlowFest 2024 and to our innovation stream. Today we are talking about optimizing document-driven workflows with Flowable and intelligent document processing, IDP. Our agenda for today, we will introduce ourselves. Afterwards, we will discuss what IDP is and the benefits of IDP. I will introduce you to Abbyy a bit. Abbyy is our solution, our IDP solution that we decided on. I will show you why we went with Abbyy and how Abbyy works. I will show you a glimpse of it. Afterward, we will talk about the way we integrated Abbyy into the Flowable ecosystem. And we will wrap up today's session with a small demo and a Q&A session. So Valentin joined us in the chat. So whenever you have any kind of question, just write it into the chat and either Valentin will answer it or we will talk about this in the Q&A. So without further ado, start with a small introduction.
Hello everyone, I am Bert. I'm a product software engineer here at Flowable. I'm from Aalst in Belgium. I'm 26 years old. I work both a bit on the back end and the front end. And you'll also maybe know my name if you've been involved with the Flowable support.
Thank you, Bert. My name is Christopher. I'm also a product software engineer here at Flowable. I am living in Berlin, in Germany. I'm 34 years old, and I'm just working on the back end of Flowable. Bert and I, we're both rushing to our 3-year anniversary here at Flowable. I think it's for both of us. It's the 1st of November. It's for me, and 5th or 6th of November. It's for you, right, Bert?
That's right.
Yeah, cool. So let's get straight to the point. What is IDP? IDP is not one particular technology. IDP describes a suite of technologies. And its goal is to transform unstructured documents to structured data. To achieve this goal, IDP needs to classify, verify, and extract data from documents. And to support those tasks, IDP uses OCR to scan text from images. It uses NLP, natural language processing, to allow the system to comprehend text and extract relevant information, or even identify sentiment or intent of words. For example, the word jaguar. It's either an animal or it's a car. And it's quite important to know what you are currently talking about within your document. Also, IDP systems use machine learning. So the system can learn from historical data and improve over time. So what are the actual benefits of IDP? IDP extracts and classifies data from unstructured documents like PDFs and emails way faster than any human can do. It scales easily, and it operates 24/7. IDP reduces errors that are common in manual data entry. This accuracy extends throughout the whole workflow and ensures that processes are not only faster, but also compliant with regulatory standards. And this increases the reliability of your reporting. Enhanced customer experience is also one benefit of IDP. Faster processing times and reduced errors directly contribute to better customer service. IDP and process automation in combination ensure that customers receive quicker and more accurate responses. This enhances the overall satisfaction of your customers. All of these 3 points combined result in a reduction of costs. Increased efficiency results in higher overall throughput. Improved accuracy results in less correction that is required, especially if your process is progressed quite far. A manual intervention is quite costly at this point. And also, lastly, a satisfied customer stays with your business and returns and increases his interaction with you. If you take all of those 4 points These are the same benefits you get from introducing a system like Flowable into your infrastructure. So we thought, why not combine both IDP and Flowable and leverage these benefits even further? And we don't want to implement an IDP solution on our own. So we, after evaluation, we decided to partner with Abbyy. So the question obviously is, why Abbyy? First off, there was a customer demand, not only for integrating IDP into Flowable, but for Abbyy in particular. Abbyy is the global IDP market leader. It's recognized by top analyst firms, and I think more than 10,000 customers speak for themselves. Abbyy also provides hundreds of pre-learned documents that you can use, and also a small marketplace where you can upload your own documents and others can then use it. From a developer point of view, Abbyy provided a really good REST API and documentation. So integrating Abbyy into our system was quite easy. And of course, Abbyy is feature-rich. Abbyy already brings image enhancement, object detection, OCR, classification, and also extraction from semi-structured document and natural language processing for unstructured documents. Abbyy also provides you with a low-code, no-code environment, similar to Flowable. So no real development is required to use Abbyy. So let's take a glimpse into the capabilities of Abbyy. What you see here now is a document skill that I created. I uploaded a document to Abbyy and I created fields. I created fields. You can define validation rules on those fields, and you can train your model. Abbyy provides way more capabilities than this, but for our demo today, this is enough. So how does this integration of Abbyy into Flowable looks like? With the release of 3.17, we will provide you with a native integration of Abbyy in Flowable. So no plugins are required, and we allow you a seamless integration into existing processes and cases. To achieve this, we created a new task called the Abbyy service task. And basically, this task does 4 things for you. First off, it uses the unstructured documents, sends them to Abbyy, and gets a so-called transaction ID in return. This transaction ID is then used to poll every couple of seconds and basically to request the current status of our analysis from Abbyy. As soon Abbyy is finished processing, our service task will then download the now structured data from Abbyy and stores it in a case or process instance variable. A different way to integrate Abbyy, or a different way of integration, is provided by Abbyy in the way of the so-called manual review task. You can, as I described earlier, you can, with the low-code and no-code capabilities, create small processes that are centered around the data extraction from documents. And one of those activities that Abbyy created is the so-called manual review task. As soon as an interaction between the caseworker and the process is required, this task is used. And this task creates a link that you can access. You can interact with the data extraction. You can manipulate or change data, and then you can complete it. And also with 3.17, we allowed a new way of integrating processes or different systems into Flowable by recognizing, as soon as this manual review task is required by Abbyy, We recognize this, and Flowable will create a task for you in Flowable work that the caseworker can then complete. So let's get to the demo. And for this, I will start with showing you the document that we want to use today. And afterwards, I will show you how this looks like in Abbyy. So this is our document. It's a small transaction dispute form. It contains of a couple of sections. The first section are account details like surname, given name, card number, phone number, and mobile number. We have a section for the actual transactions that we want to dispute. So we have a date, transaction description, and an amount. And we have a couple of reasons. These are basically different checkboxes. Only one checkbox is allowed to be checked. And we have something, for example, like we did not authorize the transaction, nor did we receive any of the monies obtained from the transaction, and so on. There are a couple of merchant disputes, technical errors, and so on. And in Abbyy, this document looks like this. As you can see, for the first section, I created a field for the surname. I created a field for the card number, for the given name, and so on. Abbyy allows you to create tables, for example, like this, where I edit the columns for the date, description, and the amount of the transaction. It allows you to create so-called groups, like this. This whole reason is a group. And within this group, I have a checkbox field for this checkbox for the first reason that we did not authorize any transaction. I have a second group where I nested this checkbox for an authorized transaction with a different amount. And also added two fields here for the amount and the actual date. And you don't need to do it like this. You can also just add those fields one after another. This is totally up to you. And now Bert will show you how you can use Abbyy and the document skill in Flowable design, and how we allow the seamless integration of Abbyy into Flowable. So let's hand over to Bert.
All right, thank you, Christopher, for the presentation. Here we are in Flowable design in our demo app, and here we have our main process in our demo. So let's go into that and explain it. So the large steps of the process are that a document that Christopher showed, a filled-in one, is uploaded. The data is extracted to Flowable. The data is classified here. It can be reviewed by a user, and then it can be registered for further handling. So the steps in a bit more detail, either a document is uploaded via the attachment of an email, via this email start task, or a regular start event, and just upload it in the start form. After that, and this is the step that we want to improve with Abbyy, because right now it's just a manual user task, is where the user has to extract the data from the PDF into a Flowable form. So then we classify the data based on the checkboxes that you saw in the document that Christopher showed, and then a user task just to look through the extracted data, and then the review, based on the review, the claim is either valid or not valid, and we can notify the user with an email, or we can register the different kinds of disputes, and these different kinds are based on the classification. So I'll quickly show this process in Flowable work, and we'll immediately see how this can be improved. So I'll publish it. Let's go to Flowable work. We'll create a new task here and upload the file. So here we are. You can see our PDF here, and the point of this user task would be for the assignee to copy all this data from the PDF manually. So you can tell that this is quite an effort, and it takes quite some time, and is prone to making a lot of typing errors. So this is the part that we want to replace and automate with Abbyy. So let's cancel this process and head back to Flowable design. where we will replace this with our Abbyy service task. So let's delete this task, select our Abbyy service task and put it into our process. So in our Abbyy service task, we have two sections right now to configure, the input section and the output section. So here's the input section. We will pass it the uploaded document to pass to Abbyy, and we have to select a skill ID. This will be the skill ID that Christopher showed before. So it's called the Flowbank transaction dispute. This is a process skill from Abbyy. So we contact Abbyy with this field to get all the defined skills. After this, we will configure the output section. Here we can define the name for the variable that the extracted data will be put into the process. So let's call this variable extracted data. We also have the option here to limit the amount of fields that will be in the extracted data variable here. But for right now, we'll just get all the extracted data into the variable in Flowable. So with that, we can save and publish our process again. This time we'll start our process via an email. So I'll head to my email client. I've prepared a draft of an email. And as you can see here in the attachment section, there is our handwritten document. So when we send this, a process will be created in Flowable. Here it is. And right now you can see in the history that our Abbyy service task is active, and we'll have to wait a bit for Flowable to poll Abbyy and for Abbyy to return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it takes a bit to process, especially when you have handwritten stuff, handwritten documents, when you include OCR.
Indeed, and here is our review claim. I'll show quickly the history where we are now in the process. Here, so when we open it, we can see that all our data was extracted automatically and classified. So when we can have a look at this and then approve or decline, we'll just approve this right now. And then in our history, we can see the path that was taken to register the dispute. So the next step we want to include in our process is the manual review that Christopher talked about, but we'll have to create a new process skill for this in Abbyy. So I pass it back to Christopher to explain that part.
Thank you. For this to work, we need to go inside Abbyy. We need to go to the skill designer and select a new process skill. We will call this the Flowbank Transaction Dispute Manual Review. And we just created. This is now the process editor that Abbyy provides. Every process starts with an input, similar to our start events in Flowable. We will add this. Afterwards, we want to extract data from a document, from the input documents. So I select the document skill. I can configure this extraction activity to use one particular skill. So I will use our Flowbank transaction dispute. And just by the way, these are all these skills Abbyy already provided for you. So quite a lot that you can use. So let's use our Flowbank transaction dispute form. Afterwards, we want the manual review step. So we will add this. You can configure the manual review to be required to review, so the review is required every time. You can deactivate it, and you can configure it to only trigger if rules or uncertain fields or unknown types are present in your document. Uncertain fields are, for example, when you scan something, and if you have a bad handwriting like me, sometimes the OCR is not sure if this is a P or a B or an R or an P, depending how bad your handwriting is. So whenever this happens, this manual review task is triggered and not skipped. But for our example, we will keep it with all. And followed up, we will follow up with our output event. This is basically our process end event in Flowable, or similar to our process end event. And the only thing that we want to configure, we don't need all the values, metadata, and everything from the document. We only need the values in our case. So we change this. We save this. And the only thing left, or the only thing that is left to do is to publish. And as soon as I click here, publish, and I click this button, we published and created our process skill. And now Bert is able to use this in Flowable design. So let's hand back to Bert.
All right, here we are back in Flowable design, and I'll select the new skill that Christopher created. So we can go here and search for Flowbank. Here it is, the new skill. And then the next step to do is to create a form for this task that will include the manual review. So let's create it. We have a new component for this that is meant for use specifically with this Abbyy service task. So this is basically an iframe that will show this manual review from Abbyy, and the Abbyy service task will pass the source URL it has to contact. So we'll also increase the height here. And this is just a regular Flowable Forms form. So we can also add any other components that we would like in here. So let's add tabs. And let's add the manual review into the first tab and call this tab manual review. Oh, sorry. Tab itself. Manual review. And then we can choose to have the reviewer, for example, also add a comment if they want. So let's add a multi-line text data entry component and call it comment. And we'll call this tab additional data. There we are. We can save this. And then we'll also choose to show this new comment variable in our review claim form. So we'll go to info and add another multi-line text. Also call this comment. Let's not forget to increase the height a bit of our, or the amount of rows of our comment here, so it looks a bit nicer. There we are. And save it. So with this, we can test out our manual review in Flowable work. We'll also start this process with an email. So let's head to my drafts and have a second email here, also with a filled in document in the attachments. So let's send it. And then a process will be created in Flowable work. There it is. And we'll wait for Abbyy now to return with the manual review link.
Yeah, and now, as Bert said, we are waiting, we are polling the current process. And as soon as we recognize the service, the manual review that is required, we will create a new task. And there it is, the Abbyy manual review task. So Bert can open it.
So here we are. This is what the manual review from Abbyy looks like. We have our document here, and on the side here, we can see the extracted data. So you can check if all this is correct. You can also go into our table and see our transaction here. This all seems okay. Then we can go into our reason, into this one it is. We can see the checkbox and the date. Here we can see it puts the dots here in red, so maybe it's not quite sure about them. We can also, for example, change this if we want to slashes. There we go, for example. And with that, we can also, of course, add our comment. So this looks okay. Then we can go ahead and complete our manual review. By completing this, our task will also be completed here in our process. So let's complete it, and we can check our history. And then Abbyy we will contact Abbyy again to say to get the next status of our request to Abbyy. Yeah. So we'll have to wait a bit until that returns.
Yeah, maybe you designed a more complex process than I did. So after completing the manual review, you can have other activities in your Abbyy process skill. So we don't know if we will with the manual review, the transaction on Abbyy side is not finished. We need to wait for the output event or the output activity on Abbyy side. So we will start again polling, and maybe there will be a second manual review or a third, depending on your process skill on Abbyy side.
All right, our review claim came in. So here we can see the extracted data with the changes that we made, for example, and also in the info we can see our comment. So let's also approve this claim. You can also see in our history the step that it took. And then there is one last improvement that we would like to make to this process, and that is for it to be able to handle multiple uploaded documents at once. So this is really where this Abbyy automation and integration into Flowable will show its merit, and really where the time saved will be multiplied. For this, we have to make a few changes to our process here. So we have already created a new form for this review task that is better suited to show multiple documents. So let's unlink this one and link it to a new one. This will be this one. I'll show it quickly. So this basically also looks like our previous review form, but this new component is added, which is the master detail component that was added in 3.16. And this is very well suited to show multiple documents. So here on the left in the column, you will see multiple rows for all our documents that were uploaded. And on the right, you will see the data of the extracted item. So here we also have a new checkbox where the user can approve or decline each item separately. So let's go back to our process. There's one more step we need to do, and that's make sure that this part is executed for each document that's uploaded separately. So we have put this into a new other process that we can call with a multi-instance call activity. So let's delete this and replace it with a call activity. We'll call this register claim and connect it into our process. So we'll select the right subprocess here that we've created. I'll also quickly show you this one. And as you can see, it's basically all the steps that we deleted from the main process. So the only thing that's left to do is to make this call activity loop over our extracted data and all our different documents. So let's make it multi-instance. We will loop over our extracted data. And we'll call our element variable claim. That this is the variable that we will pass into our call activity to handle. So let's go to the in parameters and pass the claim variable, the element variable, and let's also call it claim inside our subprocess. So with that, we can save and publish and start this last process of our demonstration. And let's start this in Flowable work and upload multiple documents. So I'll choose 3 here to upload. And there we are. We sent it over to Abbyy, and we will wait for it to return.
Yeah, and then Abbyy side, these we did not create now 3 transactions, but all of those documents are handled in one transaction. So we will poll, and as soon as all the documents are processed, the manual review task will kick in again, and we can review all of these 3 documents.
So here it is. As you can see, we can go through on this tab on the right. We can see all our 3 documents, and we're able to go through all of these here to check if they're all correct. So you can see, check all these different fields. I'll go through this quickly for the demo here. So when it's all correct, we can complete this manual review with our 3 documents. And we'll contact Abbyy again for it to return the output of the process skill.
It should be ready already.
A bit more time. There it is.
There it is.
So we can see here our new master detail component. We can select all these different documents here, and we can choose to approve each one. There we go. These are kind of two similar documents. One was digitally filled in and one was handwritten. So let's approve them all and then complete our task. We can go into the history, see that our collectivity was completed, and go into our sub-items and see 3 handle clean processes for each of our documents that we uploaded. And they all took a path here to register the dispute. So yeah, that was it for the demo. We would like to already thank you for watching. And now let's head to the Q&A section with Valentin.
Thank you, Bert. Thank you, Christopher, for a great presentation. We are still waiting for questions here. There was one comment about the screen resolution which wasn't that good. There I can already mention that the recording will be shared afterwards with a better resolution, so you can rewatch the demo and then zoom in and read the text. I'm sorry for that. While we are waiting for further questions, I have a few questions on my own. And one of that actually was asked already during the keynote from Abbyy, and it was about the license. Do we need any special license to use that?
Similar to the SharePoint and the Salesforce adapter, for example, we need a dedicated license for Abbyy. I think best is to contact either your account manager or the sales team. They can answer with all the details.
Okay, and then you probably also need a license for Abbyy as well, since
yes.
That is also not.
Yes, of course. If you want to use Abbyy, you need the Abbyy an Abbyy tenant or an Abbyy access. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Then one additional question: what is if something is going wrong? How can I debug it?
If something goes wrong on Abbyy's side, obviously Abbyy provides a couple of a so-called skill monitor, where you can see the current status of a skill or of a transaction. And on our side, if something during our polling went wrong, this will create a dead letter job, and you can check this, for example, in Flowable control. And then there will be an exception in the log.
Yeah. You can, by the way, still ask questions in the comments in case you have some. I have a few more, so I'm just going to continue with those until somebody is asking a question. Since you mentioned things can go wrong also on Abbyy side, how reliable does it work at the end?
So in our experience, yeah, pretty reliable. It's also, of course, how you train your skill, how many documents you give it and stuff, and also how if it's handwritten, for example, how bad the handwriting is. But a human doing the same task would also be very error prone. It's of course AI, but from our experience, it's pretty good. And we also, of course, have the manual task that Abbyy provides for this purpose.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. How do I configure the Abbyy connection?
You can configure it on the application level. You just need to provide the Abbyy URL you want to use, which is basically either US or EU, one of those two, and your tenant ID. And for the authentication, we will use OAuth with client credentials. So you need to configure this. You need to create a secret on Abby's side, store everything, and boot it up, and it works.
So it's the typical OAuth workflow at the end.
Yes.
There's actually one question from Nico, which just came in. Any plans for creating skills for other IDP tools?
Currently, not that I know of. But if you want, in theory, you can use our REST services or our service models to build your own service tasks. You can combine this with our plugins, for example, and with the plugins and your configuration of your IDP service provider's task, you can then roll out this smaller reusable task that you can use in your system.
That makes sense. Then one last question from my side. When you changed the task, you removed it and added a new task again. Could you also use the transform menu there to easier do that, basically?
Yeah, that's possible, of course. You can change any task to another task. For example, the manual review form, if that has the form key property, that will be kept during the transformation, for example. But the new configuration that you would have to do for the Abbyy task, of course, will be empty, and you'll have to configure that especially for Abbyy. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. With that, thank you. I don't see any further questions coming in. So thank you, Bert. Thank you, Christopher, for this good talk.